talking about the chemtrails, and there was just one more thing I wanted to say about that. It plays in that the fact that they are clouding up the sky so that you can't get a good look at Planet X, because it can be seen when conditions are right. It can be seen at sunrise and sunset, and you want to look for it down at about the 4 to 5 o'clock position on the sun, just a little off the sun to the right, lower right, 4 and 5 o'clock. So have a look, especially if you're up fairly high and you have a good view of the horizon. If you get it just as the sun is coming up, you'll be able to make out 2 separate suns rising and 2 separate suns going down. And that's why I'm sure you've noticed that the sun is brighter now than it was a couple of years ago or a few years ago. And it's because we're not only getting the brilliance from the sun, but it's also reflecting off this huge red dust tail that's coming in the wake of Planet X. So we're getting a double dose of everything.
Yeah, everything is changing. Weather, star formations, you name it. And you have named it tonight. There's a lot changing.
We need to keep our eyes on the skies, really.
I tell everybody every night, keep those eyes posted to the sky.
Yeah.
You never know what you might see. Well, let's take a call. We have Donna from Rochester, New York. You're on Late Night in the Midlands, Donna.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
I have a question for your guest.
Okay.
Because we live so close to Lake Ontario, as you know, we're about a 10-minute walk, and located in Rochester, what does your guest think of the possibility of Lake Ontario tipping water over into this area? And also the other question I have is, Edgar Cayce spoke frequently of Atlantis rising way back in the 40s, and I'd kind of like to know what her thoughts on that are.
Okay.
Hi, Donna. Thank you. I would not want to be near the Great Lakes, any of the Great Lakes.
Okay.
And I think if you go on to ZetaTalk.com and look up safe locations, take a look. If you went over into Canada and got further up into the middle area of Canada, you would be safe.
Right.
But you don't want to be near any large bodies of water.
That's pretty good size on Lake
Yes,
Ontario.
it is.
Yeah, and I'd be 100 miles away. Okay. And also 100 miles inland from any ocean, inland from the coast too.
Okay.
All right. As far as Atlantis rising, yes, I think we are going to see at least part of Atlantis rising through all of this.
Well, somebody is anyways.
Yeah, somebody will see it. It will probably some of it will come up. In fact, have any of you heard about this anomaly that's happening in the Atlantic right now around the Bermuda Triangle?
Yes.
Yeah, they're getting these waves, these energy waves, and they are not man-made. And it's throwing off the GPS, everybody's GPS in a large area. And they're not quite sure what's happening, whether it might have been one of the large crystals that has become activated from Atlantis, or it possibly could be a stargate that is activated and is beginning to open. But they're keeping it as hush-hush as they possibly can, so God knows if we'll learn what it really is.
Go ahead, Donna.
Is she talking that this is extending further than the, quote, Bermuda Triangle area?
Yes, it is. It goes all the way across Florida into the Gulf there, and then eastward it encompasses a great deal of the Atlantic Ocean. So it's a much more vast area than just the Bermuda Triangle.
Right. Well, then maybe Edgar Cayce wasn't too far off about the crystals being the power.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he wasn't. Yeah, I think he was very accurate about a lot of things. Of course, he thought he thought a lot of this upheaval and the earthquakes and so forth were going to happen a lot sooner.
Right.
So he was a little bit premature in his timing. But I think he said he was going to reincarnate in 100 years, and he was going to be living in Nebraska, and at that time, Nebraska would be the West Coast.
Oh.
Ooh.
Now, I've read a different time span on that, and that there is supposedly a guy already who is a young adult who feels that he is the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce.
Yes, yes. Yes, I know him.
I don't know whether to believe that guy or not.
Well,
I read his book, but
he seems to have a lot of good, valid information, and he has some very high up contacts, and he gets some inside information. David Wilcock is his name.
Right.
And I'm not sure that everything that he says is accurate, but I'm not totally sure that that's Edgar Cayce reincarnated. Now, as we understand reincarnation, he may be a fragment of that essence. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I'm just sort of... I don't know, the jury's kind of out on that as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Now, do you yourself believe in reincarnation?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. I do.
Unfortunately.
Well, I have a question that maybe you can help me with, and it doesn't have anything to do with Planet X, but it does have to do with the reincarnation theory.
Sure.
And it would involve people who feel they're born gay.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, a number of years ago, it just sort of came to me that they may have spent a number of lifetimes as one particular gender, coming back this time in the opposite, and that their soul didn't make the total transition.
I totally agree with you there. I think in some cases that is true. I really do. I don't think in all cases. Mm-hmm. But I do think in some cases that's very valid, yes.
Oh, it's good to hear somebody else can think my way. Well, I thank you very much.
Well, you're certainly welcome. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Adana. Have a good night. Thanks
you
for
too.
listening.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, lines back open, 803-748-9293, and you can also call in on Skype, Late Night in the Midlands. And if you do call in on Skype, I'll answer you. I might not say anything to you right away. You might have to wait a few seconds, so don't hang up. Okay, so, and we're getting into this, I believe we're getting close to the survival part.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we just mentioned that you want to be 100 miles inland from the oceans or any large bodies of water like the Great Lakes.
And that doesn't assure that you're going to make it, because the earthquakes and other things could certainly take you out as well.
Right. As far as the volcanic eruptions, you probably want to be about 100 miles away from a volcano also. At least you want to be not downwind of the volcanoes, because they're going to be dumping an awful lot of ash. In fact, they're saying that every volcano that has gone off in the last 10,000 years will be going off when this all happens.
Now, I've heard from many that Montana is a good place to be, but now isn't Yellowstone an issue?
Well, Yellowstone is an issue, but they don't believe that it's going to be the gigantic, what's the word I'm looking for?
Eruption?
The big one. They don't think it's going to be the big one. They think that there will be enough pressure being released from all these other places, all these other volcanoes going off, that it won't be the super, that's what I'm looking for, the super volcanic eruption of Yellowstone. But yes, it will be erupting too. Montana, I think, is a fairly good place to be, but I think it's in the northeast area, the northeast corner.
Okay, because I don't know if you remember, but last time you were on, we had a woman call in who has the safe haven, and so yeah, she's called in on this show a few times. So
Yes, she was in the northeast corner, wasn't she?
I believe so.
Of
yes.
Montana?
Doxy was her name. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, as far as I know, she still wants people to come up there. So
yeah, she's got homes and places for people, and so she keeps trying to get me to go, and it's hard.
Yeah, where are you located now? Are you in South Carolina now?
Yes, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay.
So I'm done for, huh?
Well, how far are you from the Appalachians?
I'll have to ask Nova. Nova? What is about a couple hours, I guess? I would have to say a couple hours, but
the Appalachians would be a good place for you to go.
Now, another guest who I had on said it would be a great place to go, except for millions of people below would be heading up there with the same ideas.
Well, it's true. Yeah, that's very true. There'll be a lot of people that will be migrating. And that's one thing to think about. If you're going, you want to be out of the cities, because the cities are just going to become a death trap. Mm-hmm. There's going to be no food, no water. People are going to be crazy. People are going to be insane. You want to get your family and your small survival group out into the hinterlands, outside of the city and off the beaten track. So if people are migrating, you don't want to be on that main migration route. And you want to plan to camp. It's going to be a camper's life for several years before things can get going again. You want to stock up on food and water and medical supplies, and you want to be able to move. To be mobile. Keep gas in the car, keep cash on hand, and be ready to move at a moment's notice. But, for most people, we can't leave our jobs, and we just can't go off into the countryside and set up camp until it's,
Well, at this point, I can. Yeah, I'm doing radio, so,
Yeah.
And I'm not getting rich off it, so.
Yeah, you could, couldn't you?
I sure could.
Well, keep in mind, that the time to get to think about surviving and to plan to survive is now, if not yesterday. And so it's time to move for everybody. So if you have to leave your job, leave your job.
See, I would go to the mountains over here in North Carolina with a small group and set up and just be ready to defend what's yours, I guess, right? Because not everybody's going to. A lot of people are going to go down just in the city. So
that's right.
I think the few that would get up in the mountains would be more willing to be team players, I would hope. Either that or they'd meet their maker.
Well, and it's going to be very important to be with the people that you know and you can trust.
Right.
For this period in time. I want to say something about the other type of preparation is spiritual. And you need to be able to get quiet and get centered, because every one of us is surrounded by our spiritual guides, and they are pledged to help us through this. We need to listen to them. They will give us direction. And so if you can just sit and be quiet and still your mind, you'll be able to know what to do, because they will be giving you that information. And just follow that gut feeling, whatever your gut tells you to do. If it tells you to move to the mountains, move to the mountains.
You know what tears me apart is that, see, I have kids, and they're kind of split up in different areas of the country. And I don't. If I went and took them and ran to the mountains, I would certainly be put in jail for kidnapping, probably, because the mothers will never believe this. So, what do you do for people like that? I mean, what do you?
Well, all you can do is try, and tell them and point them also to the information and let them do their own reading and their own research. It's going to be hard, because there's going to be a lot of that we'll have to deal with. And we need to understand that at some point we have to just let it go. And we have to do what our own individual self is telling us to do, because we're not all on the same path, even if we're in the same family. And some in the family are going to be choosing to go into spirit. Some will be choosing to survive. Being the age that I am, I don't plan to survive. I've had it with the third dimension. I'm just ready to shed this body and go on to the next. And that's something we've got to remember. There's no death. There really is no death. We just shed the physical body and go on. We're in our light body, and we're in the next dimension, and we're getting ready for our next incarnation.
Well, I just don't want to get shortchanged. I'd like to have that 80, 90 years of this torture here before I move on.
This really is hell. It's a prison planet here. The planet itself is actually a prison planet in this whole cosmos. And not only that, but the human physical body is another jailhouse. So we're in two. And my God, that's why you talk to anybody that's had a near-death experience, and it's so glorious, it's so wonderful, it's so freeing, and they talk about soaring and this wonderful love and wonderful light that none of them want to come back. And they're devastated when they have to come back into their body. That's what you look forward to when you drop your physical body. Nothing to be afraid of, and life goes on, life after life after life. And hopefully each one gets a little better and a little easier and a little happier. And that's where we're going from here, I'll tell you.
So if this should be a lesson of any kind, it should certainly be a lesson to mankind for whoever survives, that you got 3,600 years to put your minds together, put your hearts together, put the technology in useful places like getting off this planet, rather than spending the last several thousand years developing weapons to kill each other.
Oh, I know. Isn't it crazy?
It is.
It's just total insanity. Let's see. I think it would be a good thing to do to take a first aid class, if you could, or to take a class in survival. There's enough time to do both of those. Those will be used. You cannot depend on first responders because they will be so overwhelmed with what's happening that they won't be able to rescue us. They won't be able to come to help us out at all. Mm-hmm. There will be some people that will be lifted onto spacecraft, and not everybody, but there will be some. Most of us will go into spirit, though. The greater percentage will drop their physical bodies and go into spirit and start planning our next incarnation. Some may escape through portals that will open. There will be some portals around the planet opening up, going into another dimension, and the people who happen to find those and hop through will find themselves a lucky few in another dimension.
Okay, Ann, hold it right there. We've got a short break here coming up, and then I want to get right back. Ann, we're back.
Okay, hi. I just wanted to mention that I read something just this evening that is very shocking, that the Rothschilds have bought the TV's Weather Central.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like they need to own another aspect, you know?
Exactly, as if we're getting any truth anywhere anyway. All of the earthquakes that are being reported on the USGS have all been dumbed down. They've either been dropped or they have been estimated way much lower than they really are. So we're not getting near the extent of what's happening around the planet. So this is just another case of they're going to control the weather reports, and you're not going to hear about everything around the planet. So, and I wanted to mention the food crisis that's coming.
Okay.
Very soon, and this is a direct result of the droughts and the floods that we've been having. The world's grain supply has fallen to 72 days of consumption. The Prime Minister of Putin was ordering an export ban on all grains from the motherland. The global stocks of corn are the lowest level in 37 years. And it's all due to the fact that China has had unprecedented flooding, India due to flooding, Canada due to drought, Russia due to drought, Ukraine due to drought, Australia drought and locust plague, and now floods, Pakistan flooding that it's never had before. And the 2010 food crisis, they're calling it the 2010 food crisis because it started in 2010, let's see, what does it say here? It says the 2010 food crisis is different. It is the crisis, and that's in capitalized letters. And then it just goes on from there. Russia has ordered the immediate building of 5,000 additional bomb shelters in Moscow to protect the citizens of the motherland, and ordered them to be completed by 2012. But that's because of Planet X.
So Russia is trying to help their citizens, and the United States is not.
That's right.
Wow.
You might want to leave the United States before all of this starts coming down. I mean, and why have Bushes and everybody else bought land in South America?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yes. One other thing, this talks about Obama's Fortress America plan. And this report says that it includes all of North America, in which towards the end of the Americans are financing the building of a giant separation wall between Mexico and Guatemala. Now, mind you, we can't put up a wall between the Southwest and Mexico. We have to go down to Mexico and build that wall along Central America because they want to keep out, and they're afraid that all the starving masses from Central America are going to come through Mexico and up into the United States. And that's going to happen when South America rolls and they start to take down Central America. That's when they're all going to start coming north.
So South America, then, for the most part, as long as it's inland, will have safe havens as well, obviously.
Yeah, as long as you can get up in the mountains. I think one of the things to remember is to be about 1,000 feet above sea level, because, excuse me, within 2 years after the pole shift, the sea level is going to have risen about 700 feet.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you go to at least 1,000 feet now, that'll sure help.
Well, those mountains are looking pretty appetizing to me.
Looking pretty good now, aren't they?
Yeah, they certainly are. I want to give you a question from the chat.
Sure.
Somebody asked what to fear most, the NWO or Earth changes, and how will this all affect the NWO agenda? Well,
I think that the only thing that's really staring us in the face right now is Planet X and what's coming. You know, if 90% of us are not going to survive, what do we care about the New World Order? You know, we're coming to a point where we're facing life and death. And if we choose to go into the next world, we're not going to have to worry about the New World Order.
But if we decide to stay here, we might, because I would think when the waters settle that they'll start going around looking for survivors, wouldn't they?
Yes.
So they can imprison them?
Oh, sure, yeah. But at that point in time, the aliens who are here are going to be helping the survivors. They are going to be sharing some of their technology with the surviving people, especially those people who are service to others. That they will not be helping the service to self people or the New World Order, but they will be helping the survivors who are not of that ilk.
See, maybe it's just arrogance. I don't know. I'd like to think it's not, but I've always been under the notion that I'm supposed to survive this thing.
Well, you very well may. You very well may. And and people have a sense of that. I think most of the population has a sense that something is coming. They may not know what, but they can feel that the energy is really on the move, and it's building, and they're sensing that. So if you feel that you're supposed to survive, you very well may be supposed to survive. So go with it. Get your group together and get up into those mountains.
I'm definitely going to do my best.
Good.
So now the plates are moving, as you said, and so how rapidly is this going to pick up? I mean, do we know? When is the sign going to be that okay, there's no turning back now? I mean, just earth rattling.
Okay, the sign is already there that there's no turning back. That this 7 of 10 has already started.
Well, I mean, in an aspect of not being ready yet, people who maybe are hearing this for the first time.
Will shock them. When it will shock them? Well, it's either when South America rolls, or when these huge earthquakes in Japan happen, or when the new Madrid fault goes. I mean, that's going to really shock the United States pretty badly. So, and then the tsunami into Europe. So in this 7 of 10, there's going to be a lot of shocking occurrences. How fast it's going to go is something we just don't know. But at some point, the break point in these tectonic plates is going to snap, and then everything is just it's going to be like a domino effect.
Now, somebody asked what you mean by rolls. Moves to the west or moves to the east. It's going to the plate is actually shifting underneath, and it's going to, like South America is going to move 250 miles. So, you know what that's going to do to the surface. And if it's going to take Central America down with it, that's what we're talking about. It's going to move. As far as rolling, some of the land around the ocean will go under, but not a lot of it. South America will be fairly intact when it's all over, but it will be turned on its side almost. Wow, this is amazing stuff. And again, we've covered this for the over 2 years now that I've been doing this show. We've covered it several times, and anybody who doesn't believe that this is the case, I don't know what else to do, for them. I've tried to get this message out through guests like yourself, and I still have people who tell me you're crazy,
Sure, and there will be people like that, and you just have to bless them and go on, because there's coming a real parting of the ways here very quickly. So, at some point you just have to follow your own true path and just hope for the best, for everybody else.
And Glenn Glenn Kennedy, he's on this show quite often. He's a big part of it at times. So he has wrote me and says to tell people to go to NSearch.com, and the woman who has this safe haven is search Mother of Seven. Her name's Mother of Seven for the mountain information. If you're thinking about going to a place to stay safe, look for Mother of Seven on projectnsearch.com.
Oh, good. That's good to know. Anything like that, and all of your listeners, if your listeners would go tell 5 of their friends about this, we can spread the word. We can get the word out, and we have to, because it's not going to be told to us officially by anybody.
No, it's not, and that's what I've been trying to do here on this program is get the word out. And I'll tell you, it scares the hell out of me too. I mean, I go to sleep at night and I think about this, and you just don't know when it's going to get to that point where you were going to wish you had done something. Mm-hmm.
And we haven't even talked about what it's going to be like when the 8 arrives. At that point, all of these tectonic plates are supposed to be in movement, shivering all over the planet. It will not be quiet. It will be constant movement.
Okay, and now as far as supplies of food and things like that, I've heard that you can go to some of these farmers markets and actually get bulk antibiotics. Someone said that it's same stuff they'd use for the horses, but if you know how to put it in capsules, that you can use it for yourself as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. And another thing to remember is that honey is a really wonderful healer and antibiotic to be putting on wounds. It will actually sterilize the wound, and it will help it to heal. So, have a bucket of honey around. And there are all kinds of places you can go on the Internet to find out about these survival things that we need. So just do your homework. That's really important. Start reading, start listening, start looking it up on the Internet. There is so much information on the Internet, it's incredible.
There is, but I also caution people that sometimes while you can find great information, you can also find misleading information.
True,
They should be very careful.
There's a lot of disinformation out there.
Purposely.
Yes, absolutely. Don't believe anything NASA says. Don't believe anything your government tells you. If you do, you're in for a real shock. And it doesn't matter who's in. It doesn't matter whether it's Republican, Democrat, it's Tea Party, because it's the shadow government that is really in charge. And these people that we voted into office are simply the puppets, and they're just doing what they're told to do. So, God help them when it's all over, because they've chosen the wrong path.
I say those exact same words every chance I get.
Yeah.
I really do. I tell people, they're all on the same team. They're puppets. It's just look up at the strings, follow the strings, and that's who's in charge.
That's for sure. There's just the only thing that we can do is just make sure that we're doing what's right for us. We need to stay true to ourselves. We need to make peace with our own God, and we need to tell our family members how much we love them, and ask for forgiveness if necessary. Just start getting your affairs in order. It's time.
It is time. So now you said, when will people actually be able to see this in the sky?
Well, it'll be during the last 7 weeks. You can actually see it now at sunrise and sunset. Otherwise, it's caught in the glare of the sun at other times, so you can't see it. But if you're up high enough, and if you use a welder's lens or filter to look through, because you don't want to be staring directly at the sun. And you can people are getting pictures of it with their iPods, their phones, their cell phones. I mean, it's incredible, some of the pictures. And if you go to ZetaTalk.com, you'll see the pictures on there. They're really something to see.
Yeah, I'm going to get those links up on my website as soon as I get a chance, because it's important that people take this serious enough to at least do the research for themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not asking no one to believe what I say or what my guests say. I'm just asking you to, say, okay, maybe it's so, and go take a look, and you'll be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, and there's really no point in being afraid. And that's not my point. I'm not trying to instill any fear in anybody, because the Earth will survive, and some people will survive. And if we don't survive this life, we're just going to go on to our next experience. So there's nothing to be afraid of. And we're going to go to higher dimensions, which is going to be really exciting and a lot more fun.
So now, with the aliens, I mean, how do they feel about this whole thing? I mean, they're just going to sit back and
well, no, that's
watch?
That's why they're here, because this is a very unusual thing that's happening. For us to be going through this Planet X thing at the same time that we're being given this ascension opportunity spiritually. So we've got these two humongous things happening, plus we've got this New World Order group that's trying to screw it all up, royally. And so a lot of them are just here to observe, to see what actually happens. But there are many that are here that are helping, and they are working. I'm telling you, they have kept this planet from becoming a cinder already many times, and they will not permit a nuclear attack. They are monitoring all of the nuclear weapons all over the entire planet, and they can shut them down in an instant.
Now, that's something I was concerned about, Ann, is when all this takes place and the Earth is rocking and rolling, what's going to happen to all the the plants, the power plants?
Well, they're going to be, a lot of them are going to go under, and there's going to be some leakage happening, but at least there aren't going to be any nuclear wars.
Yeah, and I was told by somebody not too long ago, I had a guest on about UFOs, Keith Chester, and he was talking about how there's actual reports, documentation of these UFOs shutting down nuclear plants just briefly, I guess to prove that they can do it.
Oh, well, not only to prove that they can do it, but they have already stopped the launching of quite a few of them. They were they were being launched. So we would have been hit. We would have been targeted, and other countries would have been targeted already. And they're just not permitting it to happen.
Well, I'm thankful of that at least.
Yeah, we sure are, all of us.
Because, they probably don't want whatever's going to be left over to be radioactive.
No, and they've got the technology that they can clean the atmosphere. They can clean the water, they can clean the soil and the atmosphere. It's going to, normally it would take about 25 years for the planet to settle down and for all this stuff to clear out. But it'd probably be a lot faster with them around helping.
Well, good. Then again, another reason for me to survive this thing.
Right, right. And we need good people who will be in charge. So you'll take one of the lead positions.
I had a psychic on about a year ago who told me in a past life that I had that kind of a role. And so she says she can hear it in my voice again, and like, well, I'm not looking to control anything, but I would like to survive. What I worry about most, I don't really worry about myself. It's the kids. That's who I worry about.
But keep in mind that so many of these kids are star kids. They have come in here and they're fully aware, and they've come for the exact purpose of helping out at this point in time and making this a better place to live. This is the hope for humanity. These star children that are here, they're wonderful. And these are old souls. These are not little kids. These are old souls, and they'll know what to do, and they will survive, and it'll be great.
Well, I hope you're right, Ann. I really do. So what is your website again, so everybody can get to it, and those other websites that you had mentioned as well?
Okay. My website is anneller.com, and the other website is zetatalk.com. And I'd just like to mention that I am available for speaking engagements to groups, and you can contact me through my website.
Okay, and Glenn, a friend of mine, and I are starting to get to work on what's going to be a documentary if we get it done in time. Wouldn't mind having your opinions on that.
Good.
That would be great to have you aboard. So.
Well, I'd be very interested.
All right, great. Well,
Thanks.
Listen, thank you so much for being a guest here on Late Night in the Midlands. I do appreciate it, and hopefully we've maybe made a few more people aware tonight.
Looking to the west, going forward, chemtrails trying to hide it. Going backwards. And that is not the moon. All right, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Unbelievable. Wow. All right, so here we are at Taslina Tolsonia, looking to the west, and I want to draw your attention to this object here. Now, this is something I've seen a few times, and you know, it's not a planetary object, but it is definitely an object that I've seen, and I'm wondering if this isn't some type of an obfuscating or obscuring device being used to perhaps utilize the blue beam technology to hide something. So I'm going to progress forward here. And we're going to see what looks like a planetary object up here. And, you know, could this object here be, you know, obscuring that from our view? I think it's certainly possible. You know, because here's the flare from that object, actually. And that definitely looks like some type of technology. So that is how they're hiding some of these objects. I do believe, absolutely. No doubt. Okay, I'm going to show you some incredible photographs that were sent in to me, and you know, one of the things I've always shied away from is photos that were, you know, that I couldn't really verify. You know, I don't know the person that sent them in. You know, this. You know, if this is true, you know, if that really is the object, which she swears that her husband was in Utah and saw this, and this is the reason he pulled over to take these photographs. You know, I've seen red flares that look like that. I mean, if this is true, this is probably one of the most incredible photographs ever. So I remain a little bit reserved on that, but so I did blow it up a little bit here to try to get a closer look at it. And I do see some anomalous textures in here, and it's very interesting, is what I can say. I'll show you the next one. The next one looks more like a flare. You know, this, it just looks like a flare to me. And then this final shot, which is absolutely incredible and beautiful. And I just cannot verify whether this is in fact what I'm being told it could be. So I've taken that photograph also, and I have enhanced it. See, that looks like a flare. Let's see, where's the other one? That looks like a flare. Now this, you know, does not look like a flare because it's cut off by the mountain. you know, that it's actually behind the mountain. So I remain a little bit ambivalent about this, but I thought I would show it. And I mean, it's a very cool picture nonetheless. Oh, and just to top it off, we have a UFO up here. I don't know, you can't see that. I have to bring this down for you. Right there, you got a bunch of UFOs. I'll get my magnifying glass out. There it is. And then these smaller ones. Pretty wild. I will let you be the judge on that. That's it for now. Thank you for watching.